Chapter 3, Creative Problem Solving and Decision Making. Some researchers claim that managers typically make about 80 decisions daily, or one decision every 5 to 6 minutes. Others claim that daily decisions number in the hundreds. Regardless of the number, it is clear that managers must constantly make decisions of varying importance. In terms of problem solving versus decision making, when managers do not meet objectives, problems result. When problems exist, decisions must be made about what, if any, action should be taken. Problem solving is the process of taking corrective action to meet objectives. Decision making is the process of selecting a course of action that will solve a problem. This graph illustrates the market share of Nike, Adidas, VF Core, and Under Armour, and will set the stage for the rest of this lecture. There are 3 decision-making styles. When people use the reflexive decision-making style, they have a tendency to shoot from the hip and make quick decisions. And as our guy Sophocles here would say, probably not the best idea. Those who use the reflective decision style are slow to decide and like to consider all the options before they make a decision. Finally, those who use the consistent decision style don't rush and they don't waste time. They know when it is time to analyze the data and when it is time to get moving. There are 2 different decision-making models. This one is called the rational model. You use the rational model with group decision when a non-program decision must be made in high risk or uncertain conditions. These decisions might be significant, expensive, costly, or have major consequences. The other decision-making model is the bounded rationality model. You can use this when you work by yourself or on program decisions that are routine, made in low risk or certain conditions. For example, for recurring decisions, you can use organizational policies and procedures to guide you. Like if you run out of office equipment, you can easily reorder it, or something minor breaks, you can call maintenance to fix it. There are 6 steps in the decision-making process. The first is defining the problem. Problems can be classified based on whether they require a program or non-program decision. Non-program decisions are non-recurring, non-routine, highly significant decisions. Since the late 1990s, Reebok has consistently lagged behind Nike in terms of sales. In 2011, seeking to boost their sales number and reputation, Reebok, as a subsidiary of Adidas, partnered with CrossFit. This partnership could be viewed as an unprogrammed decision, considering that CrossFit at the time was a relatively new concept and could have been considered just another fitness fad. Though in the 1980s, Reebok was at the forefront of the aerobic shoe market. In contrast, program decisions are recurring, routine, and less risky. Step 2 is setting objectives and criteria. Objectives state what the individual, group, or organization intends to accomplish. These can address a long or short-term problem, or they can address opportunities in the marketplace. Organizations should also specify the criteria for achieving the objectives so that it is clear. Criteria are the standards that must be met to accomplish the objective. Based on the graph shown earlier, Reebok and Adidas's objective was more than likely to boost their lagging sales numbers, as Under Armour has also taken some of the market share. This next step in the decision-making process is generating alternatives. When you're gathering information in order to generate these alternatives, there are some key questions to keep in mind. The first, can we get the information we need in time? The second, is our information complete? The third, is the information relevant? The fourth, is the information that we gathered accurate? Perhaps during their research, Reebok and Adidas saw that CrossFit was a growing business that both incorporated fitness as well as nutrition and diet, and they felt that this partnership could help regain part of the market share. There are a number of different ways in which you can boost group creativity while you're trying to generate alternatives. The first is through brainstorming. This entails generating as many alternatives as possible in a given time frame with no judging or cutting out ideas initially. The second is nominal grouping. This is where you list ideas, everyone suggests one, you clarify them, each person ranks their ideas from lowest to highest, you eliminate some, you clarify them again, and you argue for where you have placed them, and then finally the group votes on the top choice. Decision trees are where you list alternatives and outcomes for each alternative. Then you do the same for sub-alternatives, and eventually you'll come to a decision on the alternatives that you've listed. Step 4 in the decision-making process is selecting the most feasible alternative. Resources often impact the selection of alternatives. As a result, organizations may not always select the best one, but instead they select the most practical solution. Without a doubt, Reebok and Adidas used some sort of financial analysis to determine the best solution to their lagging sales. They could have used a break-even analysis that determines the point in which there is no profit but no loss. Or they could have used a probability analysis that examines risky conditions and determines the probability of success or failure for each alternative. The next step is implementing the decision. Managers need to follow up to make sure everything is going as planned. 50% of decisions fail because they were never fully implemented. In addition, communicating the plan to all employees is critical to its success. Adidas and Reebok fully invested in their relationship with CrossFit, putting a facility at their headquarters and hiring 2 full-time CrossFit coaches to the staff. They've also worked with CrossFit athletes to design shoes specific to the types of movements and activities they engage in. In addition, they've utilized CrossFit athletes in nationally televised Reebok commercials. They have clearly implemented their decision to partner with CrossFit. The final step is to control the results. Control methods should be developed during planning. This includes establishing checkpoints to determine whether the chosen alternative is solving the problem. If the solution isn't working, the manager needs to correct the issue. In terms of Reebok and CrossFit, the CrossFit Games have grown exponentially. Within a 1-year period of time, they gained 25,000 participants in the event and television exposure on ESPN. Thus, the Reebok logo is highlighted throughout athlete gear and branding of the CrossFit set. I would imagine that Reebok had set certain sales numbers that provide guidelines to determine if their goals were being met in relation to this partnership. In sum, creative problem solving and decision making are often intertwined. In the case of Adidas and Reebok, they recognized that lagging sales have been a problem and partnered with CrossFit. That in turn has helped bolster Reebok and Adidas, and in one way bring Reebok back to their roots as the leading aerobic shoe manufacturer.